So the big question is this:
how can runners like you who are running in pain and discomfort fix, heal, and get to the real reason you're in pain so you can enjoy your passion for running? That is the question. And on the #RunPainFree podcast, your host, sports biomechanics, athletic injury correction, and conditioning expert, Jessica Marie Rose Leggio, gives you the answers.
It's called Run Pain Free, but it's also walk pain free. It's also sit in a chair pain free. It's also, go for a bike ride pain free. It's all these things, that just help you feel better in general.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run Pain Free podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Marie Rose Leggio. Thank you for tuning in wherever that is. If you're listening to us on our actual podcast, come on over to our YouTube channel because we got visuals to share with you. Today, we are talking about the IT band, knee pain, two in the same, if you will. Jessica's reactions are going to come up next with a bunch of eye rolls for you, and let me go over that. Injury expert analysis. We're going to go over the injury of IT band or knee pain. And today's case study is based on Jackie. So let's get right into it because it's a big one and we have a lot to go over, and Jackie gives us tons of information. So first and foremost, I have talked about the IT band probably longer than anything when it comes to Run Pain Free. And there is no such thing as IT band syndrome. I always say syndrome really means I have no idea what to tell you. I have no idea how to fix you. And that's because it's a very big mobility specialized problem. The IT band is really not an injury, but it protects you because it senses injury underneath or dysfunction underneath, and its job is to lock you up and protect you. So to actually call it a problem is quite mean, if you will. So a lot of people... knee pain is so common. It's one of the first things that a runner will experience when they have actual first time running pain or whatever have you. Knee pain is the first sign you have a real problem, but it's also the easiest thing to fix out of all injuries. I repeat, the easiest thing to fix. And that's because it's not coming from your knee ever. And that is a always statement, full stop, exclamation point. Period, 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 period. It is always coming from somewhere up top at your hip. Why? It's a different story. That's what we'll figure out. But it's always coming from up top. Can your knee become a problem if you let it go? Yes, but it's not originating and it's never rooting in your knee. Knee pain does not root in your knee. It is coming from up top. So that's the first thing to know, is that it's not your knee, even though there's pain there. Remember, pain is feedback. It is not the reason that you're in pain is where the pain is. That's not the case. So with someone like Jackie, she came to us for what she said was IT band syndrome or IT band pain, knee pain. And that's where she felt it, but it's also where the people she had spoken to or seen had kind of narrowed it down to, if you will. But she goes into that on her end, and I'll let you hear that from her mouth. But we're going to talk about it in the general case. So what aggravates me is that the amount of knee braces, knee shots, and KT tape that happens around somebody's knee when there's nothing wrong with their knee. Those three things will actually give you a knee problem, a knee injury for sure, whether it's a torn ligament or a muscle strain at the knee, or worse, an actual tear or something that needs surgery, what have you. Because what's happening is the knee is in the midline of the leg. So the leg has to it's in a vulnerable spot. So between the hip and the ankle, that's where everything kind of settles. And so if anything's in dysfunction, it kind of takes all the heat. So let's get into the mechanics of what I'm talking about here. So this muscle highlighted is one of your two hip flexors. It's kind of important that you guys start to understand this stuff because you don't have one hip flexor, you have two. This is one of them. Not only is this important to knee pain, but it's also the longest muscle in the body. And anything that's extremely long the midline is going to be an issue of that muscle. So this guy here literally inserts right inside the shin underneath the knee and then goes all the way up and across your quads. So what's happening there is people actually think that's their hip. That's the iliac crest where it's inserting. If you see where the thing starts to become like a darker orange and then goes into yellow, that actually is where, if you drew a line outward, that actually is where your literal hip is. It's very low, actually. But people think where this guy is inserting is their hips, and it's not. But that's also why there's a problem with fixing it or correcting an injury, because when your thinking of anatomy is off, you'll Google and hip pain when that's actually not your hip. It's an iliac crest, which means it's a hip flexor problem. So this guy is extremely long. Now, tissue is restrictive. Muscle is tightness. So this being a muscle on the inside of the knee is going to be tight. It's going to feel like straining because it's trying to extend. Right on the outside, that is your IT band. Now, I've said this before with this visual that I'm showing. The IT band is a part of an entire fascia system that completely covers our entire body, our face, our fingers, our feet. Everything is completely covered with this. Where this thing is showing yellow is not accurate. That is not the only part of your IT band. Your IT band, yes, it does insert where it's inserting into this bone right outside below the knee, right at the fibula bone, which is the bone that protrudes out that I always have you guys touch when I'm talking in my podcast. It comes up outside the actual quad, goes all the way up where that white is right there. It actually comes up in fans and crosses the glute. It goes all the way across the glute. Sorry, I need to bring this down. Comes all the way across the glute and then goes to the opposite shoulder, attaching up here. Attaches up there. So what's happening is this entire IT band pattern literally dictates your mobility as a human. And so the problem is that people have this issue here, and it's a tissue issue. So when the tissue on the outside of the knee is restricting mobility, which is its job, is to restrict the joint from moving at all, and the muscles don't ever fire because of it. And then there's a compromising muscle function that goes on underneath anything that's happening like that. But the point is that it's trying to restrict what it feels is most vulnerable so it doesn't break, meaning you. So you have restrictive tissue on the outside restricting joint mobility, and then you have a very tight muscle that is pulling on the inside of the knee, both of them meeting at the top end on the outer corner of your quad, which creates a pressure system in your knee, a pulling in your knee. You'll feel like there's air in your knee sometimes. You'll get a sharp zinger. That's classic IT band, like when you're walking down the steps and it hurts with your knee. That's classic IT band problem. It's a classic problem if you step off a curb and that's a problem, or that hurts your knee. It's not that your IT band itself is the issue, but the IT band restriction is causing you to have pain when you try to move your joint that way, because its job at that moment is to protect your joint from dysfunction. So that's why people lean on that, but it's really not the issue. What's happening is way underneath that. You have an entire layer, like I said, of fascia all over, and the IT band is simply a ribbon of a pattern from outside the knee up across the back to the opposite shoulder. So it literally creates an X across your shoulder blades. It dictates whether or not you can move like this and have runner torque in your core. So that's why when someone has knee pain, it's actually more complex. The knee pain itself is super easy to get rid of because it's not the knee. When you go to the right place, the immediate pain goes away. But the reason that came, that's what has to be fixed. And so for Jackie's case, that's what we were doing here. Jackie has also been a professional dancer on Broadway. She was in Cats. She talks it down, but I'm going to tell you right now, she was a professional dancer. And so years and years and years of that, a complete external rotation of hips will create a level of dysfunction that needs heavy correction. And so this muscle, this is the action of this muscle. I'm going to show you right here. I don't know why that did that, but whatever. So it flexes at the hip. It adducts. So it abducts. It takes it away from the hip. And then it externally rotates at the hip, the thigh, the actual femur. That's the job of that muscle. So what do you think has been, if she's a dancer, what has been completely overused? The sartorius. And not so much as the hip flexor, but as a muscle itself, right? As just the muscle itself, and what that muscle physically does has been completely exhausted by her. So that's huge for you to understand the point of that muscle. So this is what Jackie came to us for, but she gets into it in ways that I know you're all going to relate to. So let's get into it. But first, a quick little message. Now, if you love that expert analysis, you're going to love what I have next. There's a real reason why runners with injuries are so excited about my new injury recovery book. It's the fastest way to enjoy running without pain or discomfort. How to Run Pain-Free Now gives you the blueprint to avoid making mistakes and errors that keep runners stuck looping on the same injuries without having to stop running altogether. Learn more here at www.runpainfreenow.com/book. That's www.runpainfreenow.com/book. All right, while you're downloading everything you need to go get that book, let's talk about Jackie's run story.
Started running. I had never run ever before that. I was a professional dancer for decades, my whole life, really. A student, obviously, first, but then turned into a professional. And at age 35, I was really approaching this big transition where I was not really into the whole competition world of dance anymore. I just couldn't compete with the jobs anymore. I was just over it, really, mentally over it. And my husband, he was had some odd health problems that were sneaking up on him, and we both just were like, we need to get healthy. We need to change it up. The first thing that we did was we signed up for a 5K, you know, how people do. And we had no idea what we were doing because we didn't run. We're running on treadmills in the gym because that was what we thought that's what you do. We started with that, knocked out that first 5K. You know, we trained for several weeks or whatever, you know, whatever the plan was at the time. And we did the 5K in the Bronx Zoo, like the Run for the Wild in the Bronx Zoo. And we cried after because we couldn't believe we did it. We were like, oh my God, we just did that, you know. It was very emotional. And we kind of got hooked after that.
So I'm sure a lot of you can relate because so many runners start for that reason where they want to get healthy and they may have a buddy or not, or a wife or a husband or spouse or a partner, and they all just kind of get up and just go at it. And I know a lot of you guys can relate to that, so I thought it was very fun how that was her literal run story, her beginning of her run story. But let's get into why she literally started running.
I enjoy running at this point in my life, mostly because it's an outlet for me. You know, I've been running for 10 years now, and I think that it's changed over the years as to why I run. You know, initially it started out because I wanted to know if I could, you know, because I had never run before, so I didn't know. But now, after all this time, it really has just become this energy output for me. And especially the past year with, you know, being cooped up and gyms closing and all of this craziness, it's even more special to me. And because I enjoy it more now, because it doesn't hurt and because it feels good in my body, it really is this amazing energy output. And I love listening to music when I run, which is also just this other part of it for me that I just really get joy out of that a lot.
So what I love about that is that her actual reason why she runs has changed through the Run Pain Free program. Literally because she's not in pain anymore has changed why she runs. It just feels good. And I love that because I want you all to run whatever race you want to run and do whatever you want to do, but I really want you to enjoy running. And if you're grimacing on the race or you're dreading getting out and you're like, oh my God, I have this 5K or this 10K or this marathon coming up, I'm doing this during marathon season, you know, that's just the worst because you've worked so hard and you actually love running. So what a mental, I don't want to curse on here, although I usually do, but a mental worry that you're going to go through with like, I love this, but it sucks. So the fact that the programming really changed her why was huge, and I found that significant. All right, let's talk about what she did pre-Run Pain Free.
The wrong things. I I was a big stretcher, obviously, because I was a dancer. So I stretched a lot. Before I would go out for a run, I would stretch for 10 minutes. I would never foam roll before a run. Sometimes I would foam roll a little bit after a run, but not really correctly, probably because I didn't know what I was doing. But we did have a foam roller in the house. I'm a very active person in general. I work as a dog walker in the city, so I'm on my feet a lot. I was working in restaurants for many years, so I had a lot of pain in my feet and in my lower legs, and these little pains would go in and out. I would have like a month where you would feel fine, and then it would come back, and I would also be in and out of running. You know, I would sign up for something and I would train for it, and then I would not run for a while after that. You know, I would take big breaks because I thought that my body needed it, which it probably did because I was injured. You know, I was just doing all the wrong things. I told you that I ended up in PT because I had such severe pain in my like outer shin area. You know, they didn't know what was wrong with me. So I was doing all the wrong things, you know. I was doing all the wrong things. I had the wrong shoes and was just a mess.
So I want to go over that really quickly because I know so many people can relate to that, and all of our runners, no matter what level runner they are, they all have come through pretty much very much the same scenario like Jackie. But, you know, it's the fact that she says, you know, she had to take a lot of breaks because she was injured, because she felt like she needed to. I wanted to focus on that really quickly because you should not be running in pain. We at Run Pain Free keep you running because we keep you in sport through correction programming. So it's because we know what we're doing. That's first. Pretty much hard stop right there. But if you are in pain, you really shouldn't be running in pain. And that is the flag that your body is telling you, please stop so we can figure it out. So come on over, get a consult, because you don't want to continue to run in pain. And it's a good thing she stopped running and took those breaks because she was in dysfunction and her body was in pain. And that is the smartest thing to do. When you're in our care, we know what we're doing, and the programming actually keeps you in whatever sport you're doing, whether it's running, whether it's tri-sport, dance, soccer, football, basketball, whatever it is, we keep you in sport. I wanted to pause really quick because I know some of you may or may not know me yet. Maybe this is your first time on here, and we are known to keep people in sport. So I wanted to address that. And also people who do know us and know that we keep people in sport, I wanted to give you that insight. Okay, let's go on. Let's talk about her feet pain.
This might surprise you, but because we haven't really talked about my feet that much, like throughout our time, but honestly, my husband will tell you, and anybody that knows me, that I don't have any foot pain at all. And I used to have a lot of foot pain.
You didn't have to tell me that, Jackie. I knew. But it's okay.
I would wait tables and I would do dog walking or any kind of workout, go for just running even. I mean, I was to the point where on the weekends where I was like relaxing with my husband, we wanted to like go do something fun. I was like, well, I can't walk that far. Well, we can't. Oh, okay, well, we can do that, but we're worried about my feet. I can't walk. It was to the point where just walking a mile to go for a walk was hurting me. So that's got to be the number one biggest change for me. I can walk in my Nike Frees for miles and miles and miles and come home at night and I'm 100% fine. I mean, I have no foot pain. And that's a huge relief because that went on for years. And I just thought, I'm just going to be somebody that just, I don't know, my feet just hurt. And you feel as you get, well, I'm going to be getting older every year and this is just going to get worse. You just feel, how do I turn this around? That's just a big thing because that's like a life thing. That's not just a running thing. That's just me living my normal life. And that is a huge relief.
So again, the Run Pain Free is about living pain free. And so, yes, I knew based on what I was seeing in Jackie's body that her feet had to hurt, but no, she never divulged that level of pain until this interview that I did with her. So we went on to chat about it because I didn't know that she was in that much pain, like daily. And it was it was literally affecting her normal, regular life, just hanging out with her husband. That's everything. And the problem with running is that unless you guys are actually in pain on the run, most of you don't stop running until that's the case. The issue is that running is basic human function with velocity at extreme. So it's walking. So if running is exasperating all of your mechanics, then your basic life is going to be in pain on some level. So blood flow makes you feel better. So running makes you feel better. So until you don't feel good on the run, you actually don't address it. But by the time that's happening, you've missed so many red flags and you're literally sitting there like Jackie and can't even go for a walk, a stroll with your husband. So yes, again, we want you to run everything that you want to run and do what you want to do. But being able to live your life pain-free is the ultimate goal. So let's talk about how she found Run Pain Free then.
I initially found your podcast. That was the first thing, simply because I was searching for, I knew that I had finished the 9+1 program with Roadrunners, but I was having all this pain and I was freaking out. How am I going to do this? And then I came across yours. I was sucked in. I think I listened to 4 episodes in a row, right away, the first day, because I just was, I don't know, I was sucked in. I was sucked in by your demeanor and by your matter-of-factness and just spew of information and stuff that I had never heard before. So I was drawn in because I was like, what? Huh? Really? But everything that you said made sense. I was like, yeah. Why don't we do things like that,
So I encourage you right now to make sure that you are subscribed to our podcast on iTunes and go through. There's about 95 episodes, I believe, on there right now. And these are all both going to be there, obviously, in visual, also here at YouTube. So go listen to them because you're going to learn so much information like Jackie is talking about. And I want you to binge on it. So go ahead. All right, let's talk about her meeting me. This is fun.
And I think I was going to PT already, or I was just starting to go to PT at that point. So I was, more and more sucked into your podcast about shoes, maybe. I remember you sent me a long response back. And then I think we corresponded for a hot second, and then I made a consultation. So I don't think much time lingered, but I did listen to several episodes of the podcast.
So again, the podcast, she leans on that a lot throughout the whole interview. If you hear it, you'll hear it a few times because it is that informational, and I encourage everybody to do that. And I want to give information, and that a lot of people say that they hear stuff from me that they never heard before. I know I'm saying stuff that's not out there because I've literally been in this industry my entire life. So when you're studying it from a mobility's perspective, you really understand how the body is moving very differently, and it's very specialized. So I encourage you, again, go listen to the podcast. You need to go back and go through all those things because I do talk a lot about feet. So I don't know which one she actually listened to that made her reach out to me, but there's a lot of them on feet because feet are huge. Okay, let's talk about how she's been feeling when she actually met me.
There is so much information out there that is not helpful, that is confusing. I mean, I used unhelpful information for a decade. I ended up in PT, somebody that didn't know what was wrong with me. I was frustrated. So one of the biggest things that I would say with Run Pain Free is that once you jump in and once you start working correctly, the frustration, it disappears. I immediately felt relief, someone knows what's going on. Someone knows how to help, and I immediately felt like I trusted your knowledge immediately. I mean, I was like, I'm sold. I'm in, I want to do this.
So our consultations are very interactive, and even, we've been online since 2009, and they're still that interactive online as well. So it's important to understand where your body is getting the pain from. And so we really do go over. So it's a very interactive consult. And that's what she's talking about and why she was able to trust me quite fast. And that's what we need to do the work. We need trust between the two of us, because it is stuff that is you've never heard before. It is work, it is grit, and you are going to go through it, but you're going to feel better every single day. But that requires the trust of the process. And so that's where Jackie really, really excelled. Okay, let's talk about how she feels when she's coming through the program.
I feel like a badass. I feel strong, and that to me is just awesome. I mean, I was a dancer forever, and I always felt strong in that realm of my life. When I was in my prime, I felt strong, but as a runner, I never felt strong. I felt like I kind of was fumbling around a bit for many years. And now I can say that I feel like I'm a strong runner, and that feels awesome, and this is 10 years after I started running. Now I'm in my mid 40s and I'm running better than I ever have. So that's just proof to me that it's worth it. Also, the difference in my feet is, it's just, my husband is so happy that my feet don't hurt, and I'm so happy that my feet don't hurt. It was getting to the point where I was, because I work as a dog walker, that I was like, I don't know if I can do this job anymore because my feet hurt so bad. That's gone. I can work all day now and be fine. So it's huge. That's amazing. The last thing I would say is probably confidence, again, because I have all these tools in my back pocket, so I feel secure that if anything, creeps up, that I know how to take care of it, and I know where to foam roll, and I know what I need to do. So so much more confidence that I can continue running. And I haven't stopped running the whole time that I've worked with you. I haven't taken 1 week off. And that's the first time I've ever done that. I've always taken breaks over the past decade because I had to, because I was hurting. So I haven't taken any breaks, which is amazing. That's truly amazing. So just the fact that I can do that has built my confidence that I know that my body's is there for me.
And her body is there for her because she went through programming that was specialized for her and for her needs and kept her in sport. So the sport becomes a feedback in that way. Leaning back onto what I said in the beginning of the interview, where she had said she had to stop because she was in pain and she took long breaks and always was breaking, even though she signed up for races that she couldn't do, and always something showed up and it was all over the place. The reason why she's never taken a break with the Run Pain Free program is because we keep you in sport, because the sport should be the fun. The work happens with us. This is the work and the grit and the programming, and all of that happens here, in the session. The run should be fun or just feedback. And that's exactly what really it trips a lot of people out, to be honest, but you should be running because you need that feedback. But again, in our care. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the amount of misinformation she talks about out there.
Like I said, there is so much misinformation out there. What kind of shoes should I wear? Or why does my knee hurt? Or how do I train for a half marathon? All these little things. And I feel like with the program, you don't just get injury correction. You get prevention, you get this whole library and this whole tool set for yourself to take away that you'll have forever. It teaches you how to train for something. You've taught me several half marathons with you and a full marathon with you, and I feel like I know how to do that for myself now, which is just this amazing bonus to have, that you just get out of doing the program.
So I just want to come in really quick and say that full marathon she's talking about was a virtual New York City marathon that she literally ran as her first full marathon by herself. Her husband bikes alongside her or behind her. So for someone to take on a full marathon by themselves, no crowds, no stations, no nothing, and really do it herself, it lends to how confident she was in her body because of the programming. And she tends to tone a lot of things down, but I'm going to soup it up for you, let you know that that's a huge, huge deal for someone to do. And she's about to run her first in-person New York City Marathon 2021 this year in just a few weeks. So, and that's, you know, her nerves are up, but she knows that she can do it because she did it completely on her own. Okay, let's go on to this foam rolling bit because this is something else too. Let me tell you.
You know, when I used to go to the gym, I used to watch people foam roll. I don't recall anybody ever doing the full body stuff that we get out of this. This repertoire of information that you have forever, you know?
And also foam rolling is a part of a system. Foam rolling is not going to cure you at all. Sticking, balling, all that stuff is a part of a very specific sequenced system that is based on science. So that's why you can do whatever, you can look on YouTube and get all these random videos, but it's not specific to running, and it's damn sure not specific to your actual injury or how your body moves or doesn't move, whatever your dysfunction is. It's very specific. So that's what Jackie's talking about when she's saying, like, nobody does what we do when it comes to foam rolling. And by we, she means the run pain free people. All right, moving on to what she's learned.
Where do I begin? I have learned that having the right strength in the right areas is very important for all different kinds of sports. But because I chose running, you know, you have to figure out how to strengthen those parts of your body that are needed for that sport. I feel like I have accomplished that so much. Like, I can't even believe the difference in the way that my body feels while I'm running and while I'm just living, you know, all of it. I have learned that the warm-up is key. I was a dancer, and obviously as a dancer, you warm up. You do a whole ballet bar, you know, before you perform, which could be, you know, a 30 to 40 minute process. So why wouldn't you do that as a runner? I suppose I probably knew that you should, but I just didn't know what that was. I just thought stretching, you know, that's what you do. So I feel that is just a tremendous education to know what to activate, to foam roll, to do all of that before you go out. You know, it's just has to be part of what you put in the schedule for how long it's going to take you to execute your workout that day. Like, you just have to do it. I can't imagine going out for a run now without at least foam rolling first. Like, I just can't imagine.
So again, she leans on the fact that she used to do a huge, and ballet bar, it's literal. It's very technical. It's a very technical strand. And people nowadays, you know, there's Pure Barre out there and there's all these ballet workout classes. So that should give you an idea of what a ballet bar actually is for a literal dancer on Broadway about to take the stage. So that's the level of intensity that their warm-ups were. So she knew that would happen for her sport of dance, where all professional athletes have that. You see them take the field. You see them take the football field. They're doing drills. They're working with, they have balls. They have foam rollers out there. They've got somebody like me working with them doing resistance bands. You see this more and more because they're giving it more airtime now. So there is real work to be done prepping for your actual sport, whatever that is. And so she knew to do it, but I applaud when you don't know what to do, but you know there should be something there. And that if you're not going to do it, you're not going to perform well, or you might get injured. So again, if you're going to lean on a time issue, this ain't for you. It's not for you. This run pain-free programming is for somebody who's tired of being in pain, who doesn't want to not only be in pain for running, but be in pain for life, and then not jack themselves up now for the fun of running to be living in the terrible, decrepit, painful state in another 20 years when they've just ran their joints out because they didn't take care of themselves. That's who this is for. So it's about putting in the work so you can do whatever the hell you want to do. That's real. It's really nothing of time when it's the difference between being an injured person for life or enjoying whatever sport, activity, or life event you want to do. Just saying. All right, moving on. Her results. Let's get there.
And then besides that, I mean, you know, the running itself has just become much more enjoyable because there's no pain. I feel like in the past, I always enjoyed, shorter distances more because I could do that without pain creeping in. But anytime that I ever trained for a half marathon, even a 10K, sometimes I would get pain, various types of pain. So the fact that is just no more it makes the running that much more enjoyable, because I like most that the program is super individualized for each person, but the goal is the same. But everybody's different and everybody's at a different place. So I appreciate that you work in that way, and that you don't just have this thing that you plug into everybody, no matter who they are and where they are in their running journey. So I love the individualization of it all. And I also love the structure. I'm a very structured type person. And so I go into every week wanting to being able to look at my schedule and say, this is what I'm doing. And I will do everything in my power to stick to that schedule. I don't like straying from it. So I love that there's a certain amount of runs every week, and that's it. And there's no pressure to do more. And I love the length of the workouts, that it's easy to just plug in. All of that is just very doable, I think, for anybody. A lot of times people do too much. So I think that was really a big bonus for me, just the whole structure of all of it.
So I want to go in on that right there. I just said, if you don't want to put the time in, then it's not for you. And then she comes in and says, this is actually quite easy to plug in. And normally you're doing too much. And when you're doing this, it actually takes off so much of the expectations that are actually hurting you and hindering your process, and they're definitely not helping you. So if you think about all the things that you might be doing, how much time are you spending researching the injury that you have? Like, that's your job. That's one. Are you going to see different types of medical professionals or holistic professionals? That's another. That's more time. How much time are you out there grimacing because the running is hurting? Or then you're stopping. Then you're going to go to a gym, and that's more time. That's more money. So then you're going to go out and buy like a tape, or you're going to get a shot. You're going to get the ridiculous $300 sneakers that don't even do anything but hurt you. The list goes on and on and on. And she is correct. Most of the time, you're doing way too much. The leg swinging stretches. Don't make me get started. I'll flip out on here and fire a shit out my head. The amount of things that people do that actually hurts them and then sucks up time. It then looks at something like Run Pain Free that is concise. It's made to you. It's what your body needs. It's going to give you what you need to go out there and run and enjoy your run and feel better about it. And it's in a little package just for you. That is what Jackie is talking about. So even though it's work specific to your needs, and that's all you need to follow is that programming, the run programming specific to you, because you need to have a run program specific to you. And then your run is your run. So that's really what I'm happy she said that, because people do have that misconception and they actually don't realize how much they're actually already doing that's eating up time that could be placed in a more beneficial way. All right, closing in on this. We're almost there. Was she surprised the most about with the program?
I think just that it works. Because like I said, there's so much misinformation, and the fact that I went to a physical therapy for months and spent all this money, giving them money every time I went. And it wasn't even slightly getting better. It was just, I saw no improvement with that. So yes, when I, listened to your podcast and I first, I went to my consultation, I was like, all right, this has got to work. Like I had this feeling of excitement because I was hoping so bad that it would work. But I still had this doubt, like, well, I don't know, it might not work, The fact that it did, the fact that it all worked, that the results are proof, it was surprising. And working with you, what do you say? I love I love that you just get to the point. And I love that it takes you very little time to figure out what's going on with someone. I mean, it's not this wishy-washy, you know what's going on by looking at somebody do one squat. I know that you do a lot of stuff online, and we've been able to make it work through, the past year. So it's been amazing to have that transition be super easy.
So Jackie actually started right before the pandemic. So we really only saw each other in person for, I think, 2 months. And then we were in New York City lockdown. So she's done her entire corrective programming online. And I've said she's been the leader of the pack the whole time. She was so regimented, and she was, you have to be a bit able to receive information in a couple of different ways, both like visually online and text message and all that. She's done exceptional with that. And again, like I said, she ran her first full marathon virtually, and I literally have not seen Jackie since March of 2020. That being said, I randomly went for a walk one day, and she was on a long run, and she ran right by me just this past summer. So that was really awesome to see her running by. I get the videos that her husband takes from her. But we have been online since 2009. We've been international, working with thousands of people all over the globe. So New York City people went online during the pandemic, and they've done just as well as everybody else. They've actually done better. They've excelled. They've done great. We kept everybody in running, and she's one of them. So I hope you enjoyed that with Jackie. She gave a lot of insight with how she felt, what she went through, and how her why has changed just because she actually enjoys running. And if you've been in pain for a decade like she has been, please runpainfreenow.com, apply /apply-now, and just get over there and get your consult right away. Do not wait. I love when anybody finds us, but I really hate to hear someone's been in pain for 10 years for something that can really be fixed quite fast. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will see you soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Run Pain Free podcast. If you are looking for next steps in helping with running pain-free or recovering from an injury, here are the 2 most helpful things you can do right now. 1, you're already doing it. Keep listening to all of the Run Pain-Free podcast episodes. We've got some awesome injury recovery training in every show that you can implement right now from whichever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And second thing is, if you are serious about injury recovery, running pain-free, or living pain-free, go to runpainfreenow.com /apply-now and apply for a one-on-one consult with me, and we will go over all of your injury recovery goals, challenges, next steps, and a movement assessment. Go to runpainfreenow.com /apply-now. Thank you so much for listening to the Run Pain Free podcast. There are so many podcasts out there, so we really do appreciate you taking the time to tune in.